We are broadcasting. Okay. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Michael. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm good. Are we the only ones here?
You got myself, Jay from our team.
Okay.
And Beth Wallace, our marketing person from our team, is on the phone. Is on the thing right now. So.
Okay. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
We having fun?
We're having a blast.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Good, Michael. How's it going?
Good. How's it going with you?
Oh, well, fine, fine. How's life in the country?
It's good so far.
Keeping your social distance from everybody?
Trying to, except to go to the grocery store, and then, you kind of duck in, do what you got to do, and get out.
Yeah, I went to Walgreens the other night, and I felt like, ugh. But put some gloves on. I did the Walgreens shopping trip and the gas tank fill, and then threw the gloves out.
Yep, exactly. Bear with me, guys. We're getting people in.
No rush.
Do you think? Okay. Hi, Dan. Oops. Got everybody getting people on.
Hello. Michael, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. How are you?
I'm good. I called in too, so I got both going right now. I got to mute something here.
Okay.
Let me mute my phone, I guess. Or I can just hang up if I'm going to talk to you this way. That works too.
Then we're going to mute everybody for the first part of it, but.
Yeah, I'll just use the computer then, because I called in and used the computer, so now I got both going.
Fine.
I'll hang up on the call. All right. I'm working from home today, so.
Wonderful.
You were doing the.
All? I think everybody's working from home.
I think you just unmuted my computer.
Okay, Greg, I'll mute you. Okay, about ready to get going. Give it another minute or two, and then we'll give it another 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we've all become much more patient in my firm as we try to get 19 people on a Zoom call at 10 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. every day.
I can understand. So I've allowed, as kind of the webinar, I've allowed everybody to talk. Everybody's muted. Just feel free to unmute yourself. You want to chime in at any point. So I think we got basically everybody on. We're going to get going. This is kind of meant as a Q&A, best practices, update of us, things we are learning as we're all working from home, things we're learning as we're all supporting you guys. So welcome. So this agenda for today, kind of talk about an update to us, talk about security, working from home, general business discussions, tools to work from home, Q&A, anything else. So that's where we're at. Feel free at any point to raise your hand, unmute yourself, bring yourself up. My internet, as we were practicing, has been a little spotty, so if there's anything that comes up that way, bring it up and I'll repeat it, okay? So, talking about us, we developed about 3 years ago. We always had some business continuity plan in place, but we really developed about 3 years ago a detailed business continuity plan. What that meant is typically when we've talking to people, they always think it's just the perspective. It's not. We had a client back in Hurricane Sandy, and we learned a lot actually from that client. They had everything from what phone number people should call into to find out if the office was open, to where to go in the office, what exactly they had to be done, when was the office going to be open, who should be there, what happens if the office wasn't open, what happens if the application wasn't open. For them, even that situation was quite smooth. And we took some cues from our industry, and we built out our own continuity plan. Our continuity plan has everything from basically, what do we do if the office is not open? What do we do if some application's not down? What do we do if we have to work from home? Basically, it's a real continuity plan is, in a lot of ways, is not just the IT perspective. It's a lot of what do you do? If this happens, what do you do? For instance, some of you, if you've gotten mail from us, if you pay by check, you've gotten a call from us about, can you please use the ACH or send your check to an alternate location? That was in our business continuity plan, had nothing to do with the technical piece of it. We had pieces in there if applications fail. We had how people were going to go from home. We sat down as this was starting to come to be. We made sure our engineers all use our laptops. Some didn't always take them home. We made sure they were all taken at home, that their IP phones were working from home, that their computers were all working from home, and they could get to all the resources of you guys from home. So basically, we had everything in set, and we really reviewed this last month as this started to come to be. It's probably, as I've spoken to quite a few of you, as of March 9th, we were business as usual. We were like, okay, our clients are in the office. We're going to look at this thing day by day, and everybody's in. By March 11th, 2 days later, things changed. And we were now rotating, having limited number of people in the office. Jay and myself were in the office, and we had one engineer coming in, and we had the accounting department. And by that Friday, we were fully remote. Some of the issues immediately that, and we had to, with going remote, we had to transition everybody to remote and support guys going to remote at the same time, which, because we had a successful plan in place, we were able to do with virtually no interruption to us providing support for you guys. Some of the issues that came up that we didn't put in place, we didn't think about quite as much as, okay, what do we do with picking up the mail as we closed the office, but nobody was coming in there? What do we do with, we had some equipment in the office for us, for you guys, and what do we have to do with that? Actually, we turned around and I have all the equipment sitting in my house now ready to ship out. That's what we did with that. And what wasn't on the list and what did we forget? So we did have to make a trip back, and we were fortunately able to get back in there safely and do that and see what happened. So now there's a whole new paradigm here of, we got all of our employees working from home, right? We've supported you guys where you've had a selection of your staff working from home. And usually those people either have a computer that is provided by the company or the place, or they have a home computer that's dedicated to them. And generally those people tend to be a little bit more tech savvy. They know what's been set up, they know what they're looking for, they know how to work it, and they have everything set. Those people in general, we haven't had too many issues with. And then we have the people who have not traditionally worked from home. And those are some of the security issues that really we have to look into. So for instance, is it secure for them? If they're using, they may have no choice but to use a family shared computer. But are they using a separate account on the computer, or walking up to the computer and the kids are using the computer on the same computer account that they're logging in for work stuff. Should we set up a separate account for them? Have they run Windows updates on the machine? So these are some of the things we have to talk about. And so we do have some guidelines on this that we can help you with. I'll actually, we will be sending out the end of this some little bits and pieces to help with that. And we've also been getting, people need to get their printers set, which they didn't need to. They're getting extra monitors. That seems to be coming actually back more into some supply at the moment. Actually, we're seeing you can actually get some of that. For a little bit, you can get monitors, printers, or any of those pieces. So we're going to review some best practices. We put together, we're going to send out this infographic. One of the things I always strongly suggest, and we do this one, it's right in the upper left-hand corner, is take a picture before you unplug anything. So if your employee has got to move a computer, or they got to change something, they got to move the printer or whatever else, make sure they take a picture of how everything's connected. I know, for instance, in our stuff, we go work at your places and other stuff, and we got to move a firewall, we got to move something, and we rearrange. We actually take a picture so we know where everything's plugged into, mark the cables, sometimes crudely, but we mark, post a note or a piece of tape of what cable goes where, so we know exactly what has to get plugged in. We want to make sure they're installing updates, antivirus. I have some links for you about the people can get antivirus updates. Make sure they're not, we've had 1 or 2 people who have actually called us and said, I'm having trouble logging in via Log Me In, and we find out they're using an old version of Internet Explorer on the computer, which just isn't supported at this point. And then a crucial one is locking your computer. You walk away from the computer, you're not working, make sure it gets locked. And the simple solution with that is you hit the Windows and the L key, and the computer locks. So those are some of the pieces we've put together and we've have for you that we can send to you guys. So now, you know, kind of I'm moving it away a little bit from some of the technical pieces to a general business discussion. We've all had to close our office, a store, operations. And, you know, how much of our business continuity plan is in place? It's, as I said at the beginning, it's not just technology. I can tell you we're refining, continue to refine that right now. And I think everybody's going to have to adjust on that, you know, and see what challenges are going to come up. And we'll be working with you on the technology front as well of what pieces, if there's an appropriate piece to move to the cloud or keep it on premise, and what that happens as the dust settles and depending how long this goes. Having a virtual staff comes with new challenges. How do you make sure, you know, when they're in the office, you can walk over to somebody, you can talk to them, you know if they show up at the office on time, you generally know if they're working. How do you know they're accountable when they're working from home and doing stuff? As kind of pointed out, collaboration changes. You can't just go walk in somebody's office. You can't just, you know, ask them a question. You can't chat. In our design of our office, for instance, we have everybody, all the technical people in the central area so that there can be some shout out. Now it's all via chat or emails, excuse me, pieces. So collaboration changes. I've talked about the mail and getting the mail. I think you need to have a place. If you have somebody come to the office right now to get the mail, I would consider the fact that maybe you need to think about a message going out about there may be a point where you may not be able to get that. Morale is an interesting one. I think keeping morale up is an important part. We've been working really hard on that and checking in order to keep everybody going. Our first priority has been making sure they're okay, making sure their emotions are heard and their needs are heard. That's what we're focused on, and then we're focused on the work. We don't have a lot of this, but I know child care does come up. You know, different kids are home, especially if people have young ones. Now, all of a sudden, there's no caretakers and 2 people are working. How does that work, and what does shifts look like? And now with all of this, we're definitely going to have some technology changes and challenges. For instance, getting on this call, my internet got wonky about 3 minutes before the call. There's a lot of stress to me. I hope I'm sounding pretty good at the moment, but you know, we're going to have stresses on technology the whole system wasn't designed, for instance, for everybody to be working home, everybody video conference. For instance, Microsoft Teams usage was about 20 million 3 months ago active. Now Microsoft is saying it's 44 million plus active users on the system. The usage is skyrocketing, and they're actually starting to limit certain functions right now inside the platform as people are coming on and using it more and more. And so what are some of the challenges that we had, and what are the things that we've done? So as I said to you before, we made sure everyone was set to work remotely while providing you all the support, which I think we've done a great job on. With morale, we have a morning, 8:30 in the morning and a 3:30 in the afternoon call every single day. Excuse me 1 second. During those calls, it's a video call. We turn around and we go around to everybody and make sure and check in with them personally, see how they're doing. I've got bigger teams, not always easy to do that. Maybe, but we check in, see how they're doing, what's going on with them personally. We've had 1 or 2 people where they've had to take a personal thing, let them take their time away. We had one person who was taking a lot of on call, woke up, we saw him exhausted. We get a few hours off to recuperate. So we're trying to make sure, making a human element while we're trying to keep everybody going. I talked about the mail before, and then we've, talked how we're communicating with you guys. So we sent out messaging initially that we were trying to get everybody set, bear with us. We had some messaging in our tickets about that. And we're trying stuff like this with webinars. We're going to try and do another webinar probably next week about Teams or some other technology pieces. So these are some of the pieces we're doing, and these are some of the challenges we've had. So, and some of the pieces that we've also overcome is, as I said before, we've shipped equipment. Here I have extra power supplies for laptops. I have extra DisplayPort cables. We had a client that we had inventory laptops. We have them. We're actually shipping one out today or tomorrow. And we continue to review our processes. So that's kind of a nutshell of where I'm at. I thought at this point, we do have some other stuff to talk about, some other tools available, but I thought I'd open it up for general discussion at this point. If you guys all should be allowed to talk, if you want to unmute yourselves, feel free to ask any questions you want or discuss.
Michael, when you mentioned you'd be having a webinar about Teams, you mean Microsoft Teams?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And I would be interested in that, since I know tons of firms using it, and just seems like it would dovetail better with all our other Microsoft apps instead of, and Google Hangouts is good, but it would be better if, seems like we'd be better if we were using everything from Microsoft.
Absolutely.
Our company has switched to Microsoft Teams for a lot of it, and we haven't really had any issues with video or call or screen share.
Terrific. Any other questions?
We've been using GoToMeeting because we had an account for that, and that seems to be giving us problems. Has anybody else been using that? We're having problems like sharing screens, and everything's been freezing up.
How many people are you
Do
getting
you
on those?
recommend Zoom over Microsoft Meetings?
We've been using internally Teams internally, and externally Teams does not work great from a perspective. Teams requires an addition. If somebody doesn't have Teams on the other side, it's a challenge. If they do have it, it's quite easy. So Zoom is great, I think, and I still have an account for the people that are not as tech savvy. If we're dealing with a end user or somebody who's not as tech savvy, then we definitely use Zoom, my apologies. Internally though, it's all Teams.
Right, well, I'm talking, we have a lot of externals too, like we did a board meeting last night. some of them are not so tech savvy, and we were using a GoToMeeting, and we kept having problems sharing screens and things freezing up. And there was only, I want to say 8, maybe 10 people on it. So I don't know if there's something else that you guys might suggest that would be better than that.
I think
Zoom
some people have said that Zoom is the more user-friendly, the better one for the novice, the better one for the person who's not comfortable with technology. That's certainly worked that way in our firm. And I have a friend who's in AA, and she's been running a 40-person Alcoholics Anonymous meeting with Zoom. And she said, you know, she's got all kinds of varying degrees of technical comfort. And Zoom has, like, everybody's figured out Zoom pretty fast.
I would agree with that.
I use Zoom for just like webinars that I have to go to stay current on some certifications, and I've never had an issue there. We're using it a lot of times with people outside the company, kind of like Michael said. So internal, all of our employees have, you know, Microsoft licenses, so we all use Teams. But if it's something outside the company, we try to keep it to Zoom, or we have a couple Cisco WebEx licenses already, so we've been using that.
Okay, thanks for your suggestions.
Mike, there seems to be a question now with people working at home, at least from some of our partners, is the ability of staff to say download, you know, office information to their local computers. Is that have been an issue, you know, for security, of course, from other companies?
It is an issue, and it's an unfortunate situation if you're using the Log Me In tool set. There is that we can provide. There is no granularity to turn that off at the moment, and that is an issue. It may be as like looking at business continuity in our employee handbook. We looked at it ourselves. Is that our basically all company documents and all company materials are, you know, company pieces, and so from a perspective, if we can't. We can look at changing, but I think in the middle of this, it's hard. If they're using Log Me In, if they're using remote desktop, Jay is on. Jay, can you chime in on that point?
Sure. In remote desktop, we can disable the ability to copy and paste through remote desktop, or even to attach, say, your home computer other than the remote session, so that you can't attach your drive or anything from your home computer or check off that box. Say only to limit the printer to come through. We can definitely do that. For Log Me In right now, unfortunately, with the plan that everybody's on, that there is no option to control the file access. In general, what we've been doing for clients where there's a technical issue, obviously what Michael had started on was having that line in whether it be a company handbook or something to that effect, so that at least you meet any kind of compliance needs. Just basically have a statement that all files and such and client information is the property of the company and is not allowed to be X, Y, and Z. So for the most part, as long as you have that policy, at least it gives you some form of protection. Obviously, it doesn't actually do any physical protection, but it is a form of protection against if somebody was to remove data and then do something with it.
Now, question, Microsoft Teams, Michael, do you have to be connected to the firm's computer? Like for me, for example,
No.
A lot of my programs, I don't have to be connected to the actual network because it's cloud-based.
Let's talk about that. If you most of them, you're going to need to install it on their home machine to begin with. So actually, I'll go to that point. We'll kind of skip the next slide to that. Because if they're going to use it, they're going to need access to the video camera. If they're using a laptop, if they want to do a video, they need it installed locally on their computer to do a video chat or to do anything of that sort.
Okay, thank you.
But it does also work on a mobile phone. It has a web version of it so that you don't have to use the actual client application. So it does have those features as well.
Yeah. So any other, thoughts, questions, any challenges anybody's coming up to from keeping people accountable, keeping people on task, technology challenges?
You know, one thing that's almost worrying me is I have a new hire starting on Monday, and I feel like it's just such a odd environment to be starting a new job. You know, I mean, it's already difficult to come into a place anyway, but now to start working from your home, I think it's going to be a challenge.
I think it is. You know, I think that's a mindset because we do have clients, for instance, that have field people like sales or field engine. We have some medical device companies, and those people literally we ship the equipment to their homes and they start from their homes. So it is a shift because the rest of your culture has been that way, but I think it is doable. Any other questions? Okay, terrific. So these are some of the tools that we did a quick piece on. I know we've already discussed them. You know, we've set you up with various tools for remote access. Primarily has been, for instance, LogMeIn has been our go-to solution, which was very fortunate. That is actually a solution we use to access your computers, and we were able to extend it out to you. Some of your are using remote desktop. Some of you are using VPN with remote desktop. So there's various solutions in place, and we'll continue to evaluate that as time goes along about what is best. Probably our standard is going to stay with the LogMeIn at the moment. Video conferencing, I think the consensus across the board has been Zoom. Based on Dan's comment, I would say GoToMeeting is probably a distant second. Microsoft Teams internally without a subscription is really a great go-to. I actually have a $4 subscription on my account, which on my own account, if I send out a Teams meeting, it actually has a dial-in phone number for it. It does require you can't get that with the free. You either need to have a specific Microsoft, typical of Microsoft, you need to have certain subscriptions of Microsoft Office 365 to enable that piece to have a phone number with it. Jay, am I clear on that point? Can you clarify?
Yes. It's only available as far as the small business, as far as the plans more for that SMB, that's only available on the Microsoft 365 business plan or the Microsoft 365 enterprise plan. Right now, it is not available otherwise. Or the Office 365 E3 and E5 can both add that. Well, E5 it's included, E3 can add it. So.
Okay. Well, and if you have questions specifically on that, reach out to me and we'll go through it on a case-by-case basis. Some of you already have all that set. So I put down some of the major pieces that we're seeing for chatting, and chat is basically what I say internal. Tom, I know you mentioned the Google Meets and Hangouts not working nearly as probably as well as you hear on Teams.
Yeah, though I would say, Michael, even though not syncing with our other stuff, but the reality is Meet and Chat are great, and they've been super helpful, especially, we'll be like having a chat in the room with just the trading people, and somebody says, hey, can we just talk face to face? And there's a button right there. You click the button for the camera and suddenly we're having a video call. And it's been great. I'll be sorry to give it up, but it just seems there's so many reasons for us to standardize in the Microsoft world and walk away from the Google world.
Well, that's a bigger conversation, but definitely we can have. So.
Oh yeah,
great.
no, I want to have this conversation with you like in September.
Gotcha. Awesome. And any other suggestions? Any other tools? This is just a quick piece that anybody else got any tools to suggest? I mean, that we're not trying to say we're the beginning and end. So these are just basically the big pieces we're seeing people use.
I mean, our team uses a lot of WhatsApp, but I think that might just because we have a lot of people in other countries, because you can video call through WhatsApp, you can chat, you can talk to multiple people. So that's been kind of helpful for us.
That's awesome. I think that's a good one. I hadn't thought about that because I do use that for when I'm dealing internationally as well. So, okay. Any other questions? We've gone about a half hour on this thing. feedback, anything else you guys would like to see? Anything, the floor is yours. So, Shiva, I see you there. I gave you ability to talk, so. Well, I guess not. I want to thank you. We're going to try and do something of the sorts. We're going to look to put together something on Teams for next week. On a similar vein, if you have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to Jay, and we'll happily answer any questions. I hope everybody found this valuable.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You.
Thanks all.
Everyone have a good day.
Yeah,
too.
everyone have a